So I'm really excited. I think there's a lot that you're going to hear from our 4 esteemed panelists about how the internet, social media, mobile applications, all those digital tools, how they really can help any business, but in our case specifically, we'll be talking obviously about farm businesses, food value added, and forest value added businesses. But there's 2 aspects to broadband adoption that really will come up today, and those things are relevance and then having the skills to actually use digital tools for whatever purpose you may have. And those are the 2 things that will come up today.
I'm Rachel Nevitt, co-owner of Full Moon Farm, and when Sharon said I've been farming since I was 8, I want to make it clear that I did not grow up in a farm. I grew up in, okay, granted, one of the biggest cities in Maine, which isn't really that big, but when I was 8 years old, I decided that I wanted to grow my own food. And I used to take long bike rides and walks out into the country and find rundown old houses that I would try and convince my parents to buy, because then we could have no running water and no electricity. That's kind of how I like to live, and you know, I raise my own Angora rabbits, I spin my own wool, I go out and collect the dye plants. I beg my husband to have a horse-powered farm instead of a tractor-powered farm. I want nothing to do with this world, and that's why Sharon invited me. Because
I made her do it.
Somehow I've gotten invited, or I've gotten invested in it, actually. And I wanted to talk about the 3 hurdles that I see for people working the landscape to get involved in the digital world. One is a total lack of interest, or at least a partial lack of interest in this world. One is a lack of funding and resources to pay for it, especially if I can speak to vegetable and organic meat farming. There's not a lot of extra. Having to pay $1,000 or $2,000 to have somebody design your website when you're not even making $1,000 or $2,000 per month is a hard leap to make. And the last thing is a lack of knowledge. A lot of us who work the land like to do things ourselves, and having no idea what this world is about, it's a really hard thing to turn that power, something that says so much about who we are, over to somebody else. They might be really nice, but I like to have control of that myself.
I've been making furniture since 1982, so almost 32 years now. And for the first half of that time, there was no internet, and marketing was expensive and not terribly effective. There was, you'd run ads in magazines, but you couldn't afford color ads. You couldn't afford big ads. You had to print a catalog, but you couldn't afford a color catalog. On and on and on. So it's very much of a struggle. You could go to craft shows, which are no fun and not terribly effective. So how do you sell this stuff? The making it's easy, at least for me. It's selling it that's difficult. And then, I heard about this. I saw an ad in the local newspaper. Get a website for $40 a month. Well, I was spending, whatever it was for magazine advertising. $40 is free. So I hadn't even seen the internet. I didn't know what it was. So I went down, this was right in downtown Putney, some guy had set up an internet cafe. And I saw it and said, this is awesome. So, I then learned how to, it was basically an add-on to Word that would put a web page together for you. When I designed this website, very rudimentary, but I put it all together myself with pictures and so on, and put it up, and and it just kind of sat there. I wasn't online myself at that point. I really was clueless. In any case, long story short, over the period of probably the first 3 or 4 years, as I got online myself, would email people and so on, business doubled, and then it doubled again, and then it was a matter of figuring out how do you make all this stuff? How do you ship it? It changed total, just amazing, life-changing event. So I've been essentially selling strictly over the internet for at least a decade. I don't do craft shows. I don't do magazine advertising. I don't do anything else. But what I've learned over that time is it's constantly changing. As when I first got on, everything was easy. You emailed Yahoo and they said, awesome, we'd love to put you on our website. And 3 years later, they wanted you to pay them $300, and maybe they'd think about putting you on, for a year. So Google wasn't invented yet. Alta Vista was the big engine. And so everything, and as it changes, you've got to constantly keep up with it, and it ratchets up and ratchets up. So where we are now is you got to have a website, and you've got to be on Facebook, and you've got to, it just makes your head spin what you've got to do. And it turns out you also have to make furniture and figure out how to ship it and buy the lumber, and there's a million other things to do besides all this digital stuff. So the tools I use to make my life easier. I do something if it's easy to do, if it's quick to do, if it's effective.
Going into a job in education, and a different type of education where we educate farmers, and working with this clientele that for the most part, isn't overly media savvy, digital savvy, internet savvy, computer savvy, any of those things. And so how, within that type of educational framework, do you work with digital tools? They're everywhere. You want to work with them. I don't want to work with them either. I think I've been fortunate that I have a very young staff that loves to mess around with digital tools, and they've gotten me engaged in the process, and I've come up with a lot of ideas, but then they translate them into tools that we can use. Honestly, I'm not interested in learning how to use all of them as long as I'm able to access people like Rachel has too. They can help me do it and translate my ideas into tools that farmers can use.
Our website came to us through one of our employees who worked for us, young guy, quit college, was taking a computer programming class, and we were talking, he's like, you should really get a website, and he built a website for us. I worked with him, telling him what I wanted. He worked with me, showing me some things along the way. He got paid his regular, poor hourly wage for farming because he was learning the process. And he taught me a lot, and also made it so that in the end, I would ultimately be able to run our website free to us, which is a great resource. Over the years, there have been problems with the website. That's when I put out the email to our members. Does anybody know how to do this? Can somebody help me? What's it worth to you? So then I had this bidding process of members saying, well, I charge $75 an hour, $100 an hour. I would take free vegetables. And I'm like, bingo, this guy. And I actually sat down with a member over years to learn how to do the code, how to do everything I need to do for my website. Because even though he's always there for me to answer questions, if I'm having a sleepless night at 2 a.m. or I'm just up at farmer hours at 4 a.m., I want to say, oh, quick, we have this alert we want to get out. I just go into my website and do it.
And then when you work for extension or something, or an educational institution like that, you do want to use a website to post bulletins and articles for farmers to access. And so what we do is we use our website to house informational bulletins and research pieces, but use a tool like Facebook to drive people there and to drive farmers there and to help them know or show them when something new is actually being posted. And then that gives them a reason to actually go back to your website. Because if you go to my farm website, you can go there all year long and it looks exactly the same all year, and then maybe in January, or actually when we're getting ready to put out information for our CSAs, when I'll actually update it and add like 15 new pictures from 2013 and maybe change a few things on the front end of it. But really, that's the hard thing I think about maintaining websites, is that, if you do have people that like your farm and they just keep going back to it, it's the same old thing, it doesn't become very exciting to them. So we use Facebook through my UVM extension team to actually just drive people to our website to say, oh, the 2000 13 winter wheat variety trial reports are in, this one did the best, blah, 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 blah. You know, go to our website with a link.
I find Facebook excellent because you don't have to be polished. You don't have to have a really great picture and crop it just right and get rid of the background clutter and all this stuff. It's a snapshot in the shop. Here's what I'm working on. 2 sentences, boom, there you go, you've made some contact.
We've just added the Facebook account, which is really great. You can actually see your progress. I put out a message on there early this spring about we run a summer camp on the farm, and I said Full Moon Farm Camp still has some spaces open, and though most of our stuff goes to our 344 people, that went to over 1,000 people because people share it with other people. And suddenly we had these kids in our summer. I did no advertising for our summer camp other than to send out that listing on Facebook. And we got people, all of our camps were full, and we got people that we never would have accessed otherwise.
You know, take pictures while I'm going through the process of making something, post that in an album. Somebody asks, you know, somebody asked about a bureau a few months ago, you know, do you have any more pictures of a bureau? Actually, you can see a whole bureau being made, and here it is.
But so how we use Facebook is actually because our customers, we have an On Your Honor farm stand, and so we don't really see our customers all that often. We actually try to avoid them at all costs. We don't know if they're happy or if they're sad or if they're glad, although Ron communicates with them more now. But you know, so Facebook was actually a way for the people that we don't really get to see to have contact with us. And it was amazing to us once we had the Facebook page how all these, you know, customers, they actually got to see us. I mean, I would be out at our farm stand sometimes and people would be like, you know, talking to me like I was a customer. I'm like, no, I own this place. You know, I'm the one that's putting these vegetables out here for you every day. So, you know, it enabled us to connect with our customers, and we don't necessarily use it to draw in more people, just as a way to communicate with the people that are our customers already, which is really great, really great.
So it's very quick and easy to post all sorts of pictures and share thoughts. I put a lot of, you know, I post a lot of articles on, you know, sourcing of lumber and, you know, rainforest issues and all that sort of thing, which I care a lot about. So there's Facebook.
And then the other tool that we've used a lot is YouTube videos. And as your brother or somebody told you, you have to make videos. Well, of course, everybody loves videos. I wish we had videos of cats playing with balls of yarn, or what was the new one I saw? The farmers in Kansas that don't have obviously enough to do and they're making crazy. Have you seen this?
They're hilarious.
Obviously, I don't have enough to do because I'm watching them. But and I've been creating a storyboard to actually develop our own, you know, kind of cool video. But my husband, who's on the farm all the time, he is always watching videos all the time, and that's just a key to, you know, at night he sits on the couch with his phone and he's just watching videos of equipment, and look at this piece of equipment that I want, look at this piece of equipment that I want, look at this piece of equipment that I want. Yeah. I was like, why did we give you a phone? And anyway, I'm like, who do you have to call? But it uses it to watch videos. So, you know, I decided it was really important for us to make videos through extension that farmers can learn things from. But I think the key with videos is making videos that sort of matter and actually teach people things versus just making a video. Because you can sit out there for, you know, at least in my job, I don't, but for an hour, videotaping somebody pressing oil, or I don't know, some of the things that my staff will video, and I said, well, who really wants to watch somebody oil coming out of a barrel of an oil press for 2 hours, you know? So what is somebody going to learn from that? So really, you know, developing videos that are meaningful and that people actually want to watch versus just developing videos so that you can say you have videos on YouTube. And some of the videos that we've developed, they haven't gone viral with 1 million hits or anything. I'm waiting for that big one, but we do have videos that have been. What's that?
It'll have cats in it.
Yeah, I know. Get some cats.
Throw a bunch of cats in Richard's workshop.
I know. There we go. Near the saws, yeah. But you know, we do have have videos that have been accessed, you know, hundreds of thousands of times, which is amazing to me. And that's when you know you've hit on an agricultural topic that somebody really needed to know about. And one of our videos that we created was on how to construct a hop yard on a small scale. Because when we wanted to construct a hop yard, we had no place to get the information. We combed the internet, we called people, we called the American Hop Association, and no one could tell us how to actually construct this hop yard. There was no manual, there was no video. So we made the video, and now it's been watched by, you know, hundreds of thousands of people around the country, around the world, that want to know how to build a hop yard. So it's things like that that are really meaningful, and that we try to, you know, focus our time on doing that, because you can waste a lot of time kind of developing these things just to say that you've done it.
And then this video thing, I saw this the other day, and you know, a friend of mine has been saying, "Oh, you gotta have video, you gotta have video." Well, when the hell am I gonna have time to, you know, set up a camera, record this video, and all this other crap? You know, this thing, it sits in the corner of the shop. It's recording all the time, and it gives me 7 days worth of film that I can then go back to and pick out a clip and say, here's the other day I was assembling a dovetailed file cabinet case. You know, and it's about a 15 or 20 minute process. And it's, you know, but it's interesting, other than the, you know, running a board through a planer or sanding endlessly. You know, so I take that 15-minute clip and I speed it up to, so it takes 2 minutes to see me assemble this whole thing, and then you stick it on the website, and you know, it's easily done. I don't have to think about it. I, you know, just look at the clock when I start doing something interesting, and then I go back later that night, pull the clip out, and it's done.
And then the other tool that I've started to use, and actually have worked with Empower Mobility, which is a developer, to develop, is GoCrop, which is a web application. And if you don't know what a web application is, because I didn't know either, it's in the cloud. And if you don't know what that is, I can't really tell you. It was up there in the universe somewhere. You basically access this web application and insert your farm cropping information into the web application, all of your fields and all of the information about those fields and soil tests and nutrient amendments, etc. And then you can access all of your farm information from a mobile application. So this web app feeds all your data into the mobile app, and from your phone you can actually keep records in those individual fields, and the records from your mobile application go back into the cyberspace, into the web application, so that then in January, when you're trying to figure out what were all the great things that happened on your farm or the bad things, you can be accessing the information from your computer. And the program is actually called GoCrop, and it just went live maybe a month or so ago, so you can download it from the App Store or from our website, which is GoCrop.com. And it's the only tool like this in the country, so it's actually very special. There's no other tool that does this, and no other tool that's available like this to farmers. Most other tools like this are only available, or are available to crop consultants mostly, and they're thousands of dollars. And the goal of this was to actually make a tool for the farmers themselves. The reason I created the tool, again, was because I've worked with farmers on nutrient management planning for 6 years, and every winter when farmers come into the classroom to update their plans and to do their record keeping, they would come in with, you know, piles of paper, right, and I mean, just Dorito bags with like marker on them, or cigarette packs, or whatever it was, you know, those were their records, or I lost my notebook, or, you know, just all kinds of stories. And what sort of dawned on me during class was that most farmers forgot how to turn the computer on, couldn't really run a mouse, had trouble running Excel, but what they could do was operate their phone. Most every farmer has a cell phone, and it was a tool familiar to them. So my thought process behind this tool was, why don't we take a tool that farmers can use and are using, and put the technology and the record keeping into that. So this is something they have with them all the time. They're using it all the time, and now they can keep their record keeping using this tool.
I also use, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Dropbox. It's a tool for storing your files so that they're on all your different devices. You know, I've got a computer, you know, a desktop computer, I've got a laptop computer, I've got my cell phone, I've got a Kindle, you know, and you want to have something down the shop or something in the house, and you got to go, you know. So it eliminates all that. If your computer dies, it doesn't matter because it's all in Dropbox. You get a new computer, you put it in Dropbox, and all your files are there. It's very useful. I use drawings with. I've been doing computer-aided drafting for probably 20 years at least, starting out with very basic 2D. I now I still do basic 2D drawings. I also use SketchUp, which is 3D drawings. They're great for presentations to customers. I can take actual pictures of wood grain and stick them on the piece of furniture so it looks like a piece of furniture. It can be spun around 360 degrees. They can see what it's going to look like. It also helps me figure out on complicated pieces what the joinery is going to be like, rather than having to sort of imagine it all. And it's easy to use. I have a email marketing list, which is all the customers I've ever had since email was invented. You know, and I send it. Don't do it as often as probably I should, but a couple times a year probably, which is effective. I have a blog, which is more difficult for me because you got to kind of think about what you're going to say and write up. It's like homework. But it's an effective marketing tool. So there's all these various, you know, obviously I have a digital camera, who doesn't now, you know, and I use Photoshop. If I take that quick snapshot in the shop of a piece of furniture, but I want to put it on a website and have it look awesome, I'll cut around the picture, make the background black, and it looks like it was taken in a studio. And I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to sweep the floor, you know. You know, there are all these things that make your life easier and, you know, make it so you can sell your stuff. You know, whether it's vegetables or furniture or lumber. In fact, there's a story about I had a customer contact me. They lived out in Seattle or something. They wanted some end tables to go with the couch they were getting out there. They wanted it in Western walnut. Well, there's this company out in Oregon that cuts down these huge walnut trees, spectacular figured grain, but the best part about what they do is their website. They take pictures of each board, and they're spectacular book match boards, and they put them in this database with the type of wood, the type of grain. Is it marbled walnut? Is it curly walnut? Is it curly maple or cherry? What are the dimensions? How long is it? How thick is it? So I can search through this thing for they wanted some night tables of Western figured walnut. So I searched for Western figured walnut. What are the dimensions I need? I can then take those pictures and put them in a wish list. I can then email that wish list to the customer and say, here are your boards. What do you think? Here's the drawing that I made with my 3D drawing program. Do you like it? And when they say yes, I just punch, buy the boards. They get shipped to me. That's awesome. The customer knows what they're getting. They see the price of the wood. They know it's expensive wood, so I don't have to say, you know, this wood costs, you know, $1,000, and they say, what, are you kidding me? You know, they already know it costs a lot of money. So that sort of I mean, talk about value added. This is just wood, but the value they've added to it with this absolutely fantastic website is huge. And they're the other side of the country. I would have never in a million years heard of them without their website.
Like I've said, I've just used my members to teach me things over the years. It's not impossible. You have to give the person helping you do the digital tools the information of what you can handle, what you can't handle, what you feel comfortable with, what you don't feel comfortable with. I can't even read anymore. My eyes are so bad. What did I write? I asked my husband on the ride up here today, what did he think that digital tools had given us? And I think it's given us great visibility. Someone called me the other day and, not called me, they emailed to say that they're from Boston and they did a Google search on organic pork and they were coming to Charlotte for Christmas dinner and they wanted the most expensive cut of pork we have, which is the pork tenderloin, and they wanted 5 of them. And I thought that was great because all I did was explain what we have on our website. I find that there are subtleties in organic farming and the difference between pastured animals and organic animals that's hard to explain on a regular basis at farmers markets. So I use the website for people to go more in depth and learn more about us and see if they want to contact us or not. My husband also said in the car that what this has given me is power over him. Because if he has some announcement he wants to go out to a bunch of people, or if he has some idea, or if he sees something on the website that he really wants to change, he has to come to me.